forward to the second session of today. What we have is from Mr. Shivakumar, sir. Sir is going to be speaking on the topic Leadership in Bharateeya Tradition, Lessons from Itihasa, Purana. I would take a privilege to welcome Sir for this session. We welcome you, sir. I would take a couple of minutes' time to introduce Sir. Mr. Shivakumar, sir, is the director of IK's Changemaker at INDICA, where he's engaged in serving and nurturing thought leaders, platform builders, and regional public leaders. Sir holds a degree in technology in computer science from IIT Bombay and BTech in computer science from NIT Surat. He brings over 2 decades of rich leadership experience in IT and learning sectors and holds different senior positions at LTI Mindtree as a principal director and head of lateral learning, general manager and head of digital academy, and many more positions what Sir had. Sir played a pioneer role in Mindtree in designing and implementing role-based certifications programs, digital technology upskilling, and campus to corporate learning pathways. His efforts impacted thousands of engineers, senior engineers, and campus hires through structured workshops, assessments, and pre-joining programs. At INDICA, he promotes a unique selfless self-framework, guiding change makers to align personal aptitude and passion with the larger cause while also pursuing inner spiritual transformation. With his deep expertise in global delivery, software project management, and talent management, coupled with his passion for nurturing change makers, Mr. Shivakumar sir continues to bridge technology, education, and IKS to empower future leaders. On behalf of CES and INDICA, we welcome you, sir. I would also like to welcome Dr. G.P. Sudhakar, sir, the Honorary Professor, Bharateeya Management CES. So, welcome to the session, sir. Now, I request Shivakumar, sir, to take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Dhanyavad, Dr. Bhagya. It's a pleasure again to be back here at CES. So last year, we had the pleasure of discussing a very similar topic. We spoke of leadership from a very theoretical framework. Now we'll see from the standpoint of how our texts have carved different images and different perspectives of leadership. So I'll begin with my sharing the screen. Just a minute.
Yes.
Is it visible?
Not yet. Yes, it's visible, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Namaste and welcome to everybody. So I'm part of an organization called INDICA Academy. It's an institute for Indian knowledge systems, culture, and traditions. And INDICA has many centers and focus areas on such as books, moksha, Vedanta, yoga, a journal. We have our own courses. We offer conferences, symposiums, and we celebrate festivals. We offer a lot of IKS programs for institutions, both public and private. In fact, tomorrow we are doing a symposium on governance and political thought. It's an online symposium. So with this brief, let's move to the subject, which is leadership in Bharatiya tradition, lessons from Itihasa Purana. So the session today will be, will consist of the following. So we'll first look at some leadership models that emerge from certain characters, certain situations in different texts. We'll explore 10 such examples, largely all from Itihasa Purana. And then we will look into, how is this all part of a larger scheme of things? What is the kind of thought also represented in our Itihasa Purana and some other texts that is, carving such specific examples. So these specific examples are not ad hoc, but a part of a larger a scheme of things. Then if time permits, we will see, what are the larger leadership archetypes of Bharat and how are they emphasized in various texts. But we may not get time to do that because it is 1 hour and largely we'll focus on the first two aspects. So in this presentation, we'll see the following examples. We'll see the story of Sri Rama, Shri Krishna, Dharmaraj Yudhishthir, Chakravarti Bharata, Vidura / Harishchandra. So it's enough to speak of Vidura. Sahadeva, Raja, these are all well-known characters. Raja Prithu from Bhagavata is not as much well-known, but is a very important person. Prithvi is named after Prithu. King Janaka, of course, very well known. Then the last two stories are really very less known. We have Naga Vasuki and Naga Adishesha, whose stories, Vasuki comes very frequently in Mahabharata, whereas Adishesha does not as much come as much frequently, but Adishesha is a prominent figure in Adiparva. So their stories also demonstrate an exemplary leadership model. And we'll see how Sri Rama represents a leadership by inclusion, whereas Sri Krishna represents a totally different paradigm of leadership, where he's at the edge and offers a transformative leadership through experience. We'll see one after the other and look at how our Itihasa Purana has carved characters and there is leadership in every path of life, very different from each other. So it is possible for one to carve one's own leadership space without actually having to compare with others. So in Sri Rama's case, we'll take a specific example. All of us know that Vibhishana decides to move away from Ravana after Ravana insults him and almost threatens to, arrest him. And Vibhishana crosses the ocean and comes to Sri Rama. And then, waits outside, sending a message that he is the brother of Ravana and would like to switch over sides. Now, this is a very elaborate sarga in Mahabharata, Ramayana. So then, Sri Rama has intuitively knows that he should accept, but it so happens that Sugriva is not at all convinced, and then there are murmurs in the Vanara camp, and then Sri Rama decides that this has to be resolved in a very consultative manner, and he organizes a sabha where everybody is given a chance to speak. So, and everybody give their own reasons for why Sri Rama should not accept Vibhishana's Sharanagati, and he's not worthy of being included because he may be treacherous. So one after the other, everybody gives a detailed explanation, which is there in Ramayana. So finally, Rama seeks an opinion from Hanuman. And then Hanuman gives a beautiful explanation, which completely convinces everybody. So leaving no trouble for Sri Rama to take a decision that Vibhishana should be taken in. So he, of course, elaborates his own experiences of visiting Lanka previously during the Dahana. And that convinces everybody, which is not the important thing here. The important thing here is that Sri Rama ensures that everybody has their say and everybody provides their own perspectives. This is an important thing in the whole thing, because Rama's approach is a very inclusive approach through participation. It's not that he knows the decision, the right decision, but he wants to ensure that everybody has their say. And this is a template that he follows. In every incident, Sri Rama has his own way of ensuring participation and inclusion of everybody around him, whether it is brothers, Sita, or mothers, everybody. So this is his approach, and this leads to a unique value, because it ensures that there is unity, loyalty, acceptance for minority view, everything. It's a template of leadership. It's a confident leadership. Shri Krishna, on the other hand, is a leader through transformation. That is, he will not worry so much until there is a trouble. He will always wait for things to fall off. But when it is falling off, he is leading from the ground. Always brings in an experiential leadership dimension. Bhagavad Gita is the most classic example, but not just Bhagavad Gita. Even in the Dyuta Sabha, it's finally when things go very bad that Shri Krishna intervenes. So time and again it happens that Shri Krishna always comes and intervenes at the edge. So it is leadership through transformation, but at the edge. So fundamentally, it is about transformation at the right time for right time, through right action. See, even in the battlefield, when Arjuna is not fighting enough against Bhishma, Shri Krishna says, now if you don't fight, first he warns. Finally, when Arjuna is still dilly-dallying, Shri Krishna says, I will now break my vow and I'll step onto the field and I will myself kill Bhishma. And then Arjuna, enters and then, pleads that he should not do. So this kind of transformative action is Shri Krishna's template. Yudhishthira, on the other hand, is leadership through consultation. See, this is very different from Rama. Rama is participation and inclusion. He knows the answers. Yudhishthira is somebody who builds clarity through consultation, both for himself and to others. So this is one level of leadership below Rama. So his paradigm is consultation, dharmic exploration, and creating a consensus. Classic example is Rajasuya decision making. It's one of the most elaborate chapters in Mahabharata. The way the consultation happens is so detailedly present. So it's unfortunately overlooked because, we only look for stories. First, Maharshi Narada comes and sows the seed of, Rajasuya Yaga performance. And then it triggers a thought and an ambition and a desire in Yudhishthira. He first consults Sahadeva, then he consults all his brothers, then he consults all his ministers, then he consults elders from all sections of the society. It's explicitly say he calls and all that. It's not in one or two shlokas. Finally, after getting a good view from everybody, then he consults Shri Krishna. He calls him. So Shri Krishna comes from Dwarka. Shri Krishna, sows some doubts in the beginning, as is, always Shri Krishna's method. He says that, no, Jarasandha is there. First you have to kill him. So then Yudhishthira drops the idea. Then Shri Krishna convinces even that is possible. So that's a transformative angle that Shri Krishna brings. Finally, they go for Rajasuya. So the process is important. Yudhishthira is not very clear, but he knows the method to become clear. And he knows whom to talk to first, whom to talk next. So there is a very consultative approach to Yudhishthira's decision making, always, not just in this instance, whether it is Yuddha, after Udyoga Parva, time and again you will see Yudhishthira having this consultative approach towards everything. So his Through this, he seeks clarity, consensus, both for self and also realize collective confidence in the decision. Chakravarti Bharata, unfortunately, is glossed over. He does something extraordinary, Shakuntala and Dushyanta's son. When he has many sons, but he's built a great empire. He's transformed Vamsha from a small empire to a very large empire. And he does not give his kingdom to any of his children. He chooses Maharshi Bharadwaja's son Bhumanyu as his heir. Why? Because for the vision that he has, for what he wants the kingdom to be, his sons are not fit to rule. And it's only Bhumanyu who can rule. So this is a foresight in leadership. So in leadership, it's also important to have a long-term view of things. And when you develop long-term view, you kind of develop more dispassionateness in decision making. You're more selfless, and you anchor yourself on a strategy. This is the leadership lesson from Chakravarti Bharata. So kingdom's longevity is ensured. So Bharata is how all Kuruvamsha people are referred to, including the Panchalas. Panchalas are also Bharatas. So it's his name that is most recalled. Bharatarshabha is how most of them are referred to in Mahabharata. So this is Bharata's style. Vidura, on the contrary, is not at all looked at as a leader. Because for us, leadership means to be a king or to be in something, in some such authoritative position. But Vidura is a leader nevertheless, simply because his pursuit of truth as leadership value was so high that people came to him for advice and action. So he influenced with either no authority or very little authority. See, even somebody like Dhritarashtra, who does not like Vidura, but still wants Vidura to be next to him all the time, because he knows that at least I will come to know the truth all the time. Truth has its own power. Truth brings certain clarity. That brings certain ability to provide counsel, and counsel providing is part of leadership. So you will see in organization mentors who are not at all having any authority, but they are valued for the sheer perspective and sheer ability to do kalyana, that is, everybody's good. So when they give you an advice, they're not just giving you an advice. They're not kanikas in Mahabharata. They're viduras, because they give you an advice that's not just good for you, but good for everybody also. So this is an angle of leadership that is available to more people. Everybody cannot become a king, but everybody can strive to become viduras. Of course, this requires you to not have a stake in the system as much. If you have built a stake, you can't do this. You have to be selfless. You cannot be behind wealth making if you want to be vidura. But there is absolute value. Even somebody like Duryodhana, who hates you, also knows the value that you bring to the table. You will see, several examples of even Bhishma taking advice from Vidura. The first man that Bhishma goes for consultation is always Vidura. And Vidura Niti is, of course, very famous. So once Dhritarashtra gets angry and sends Vidura, and then Vidura goes to Pandavas in the forest, but unable to live alone. So Dhritarashtra once again sends Sanjaya to call back Vidura. Sahadeva, another quiet guy, he's the quiet form of Vidura. As much truth seeking, but he's an expert in Niti Shastra. And he's expert, and he also knows who he should follow. He's not after fame. He knows that Bhima and Arjuna will always be having more fame, but he knows his position well. He is the chief minister of Pandavas, and he is the one who is expert in Niti Shastra. And Dharmaraja always consults Sahadeva first, not just because he's the chief minister, but because of his knowledge and experience and the ability to tell the truth very clearly. Unlike Vidura, Sahadeva is very quiet onto himself and acts only when the situation demands or there is an explicit ask. Nevertheless, very comfortable living in the shadow of Bhima and Arjuna. But people know the value of Sahadeva. So you will see in Mahabharata at various instances how Dharmaraja actually asks Sahadeva to first answer any question. So truth itself brings authority and it brings people to you for counsel. Raja Prithu of Bhagavata is a civilization transition leader. So this is an interesting story in Mahabharata. After Dhruva, a king comes by name Anga, and then he has a son called Vena. Vena becomes very bad. And Vena becomes so bad that no counsel works, and finally rishis have to kill him. But finally, after rishis kill him, the kingdom goes without a king, and that forces the kingdom to once again go to rishis and say that now we need a king, otherwise we cannot live. And then rishis create Prithu out of Vena, and Vena begins to rule. But what happens in his rule is very interesting. It's not hunky-dory from the beginning. Because of the past bad rule of Vena, the kingdom has gone to dogs, and subjects don't have enough for them to live a righteous life. So Maharaja Prithu goes after Mother Earth, seeking wealth for his subjects. Look at the metaphor that is carved out. Mother Earth takes the form of a cow and runs away. It refuses to give what Maharaja Prithu wants. Prithu chases Mother Earth and finally becomes so furious that he takes his arrow and bow and arrow and begins to aim at the cow. Just imagine look at the metaphor that is carved. So the cow now, submits itself and comes back to Prithu and tells that Prithu, don't kill me. See, I'm running away from you guys because in the past you have exploited me so much that now I have nothing to give you. So if you now want things from me again, you have to give me time to be able to give. And then you have to take only in such a manner that it does not harm. And Maharaja Prithu then finally agrees. He goes through the process. It's a big change. And then his kingdom slowly gets transformed. And then Prithu becomes a great king after this experience. And Mother Earth gets the name Prithvi after Prithu. So in this simple story, a very strong metaphor is carved. See, the transition of a region or a king, a nation or a civilization from Dhruva to Prithu is one cycle. And Vena, when he destroys his own kingdom, the path of recovery for Prithu is very complex. Initially, it's not clear. Initially, Prithu has to be rude and drastic, chasing Mother Earth and threatening Mother Earth in the form of a cow is a strong, exceptional metaphor. That image you will not see anywhere. But that is the nature of a transformational situation, transitional situation, that your path to stability won't be a very straight line, easy. You have to take lots of drastic actions on the ground, some good, some bad. But finally, if you have the right ability to listen to everything, then you figure out a way and you transform yourselves from attacking to the mother cow, Mother Earth, to listening to it, and then finally exactly doing what is the right thing and also becoming a fatherly person to mother cow. So from somebody who is extractive, Prithu transforms himself to nurturing. So this is a transition of a civilization represented by Maharaja Prithu. And often we will have that kind of leadership necessity as well. So you will have to do drastic things. And from those drastic things, you will have to learn the ability to extract yourselves and become the nurturer. From extraction to nurturing is a transformational leadership that Maharaja Prithu establishes. So knowledge in this process of exploration, right paths and wrong paths become clear. And Prithu, through his experiences or knowledge of wrong paths, ensures that for a long time to come, the right paths alone are available to the civilization. King Janaka's story is very simple. He is a transformative leader in a very different sense. He's a man of renunciation. His power comes from the fact that he has no stake. He is himself already on the path of moksha, and there is big. You can imagine. Even today, we have several leaders whose leadership strength and trust and faith in them comes because they are seen as renunciates or ascetics. So that is Janaka's leadership. And in Mahabharata, when Shuka, son of Vyasa, is to be, he insists on leaving the earth and attaining moksha. So then moksha dharma is taught to him from Janaka, because Vyasa says, go to Janaka and learn. So Shuka goes and he sees that kingdom of Videha, Mithila city, is extremely prosperous. So there is no dearth of wealth in the kingdom. But the king is a rishi, a renunciate. And finally, he learns everything from him and comes back. So a unique balance comes from you keeping your own stake away, that enables the pursuing of well-being of others, because others will trust you. So that is the kind of leadership that Janaka Maharaja brings. So you will see there are other examples in Yajnavalkya Gargi Samvada and Ashtavakra Dandi Samvada. In all those cases, there is a higher order trust in King Janaka that the society poses. So that comes from his, persona of renunciation. So the last two stories, which are truly exceptional, which are more relevant from our angle, because the first 8 examples are exemplary examples. So they are excellence, paths of excellence. But Naga and Adishesha and Vasuki represent something that we will go through all the time, a crisis that we will go through all the time. So both are brothers, of course, sons of Kadru. We all know that Kadru curses Nagas, Sarpas, to be extinct because they don't listen to her. And over a period of time, the Sarpas become bad. And, their behavior is extremely bad. And they are on a path of destruction, also because of Kadru's curse. So this frustrates Adishesha and Vasuki, the brothers. In particular, Adishesha is disgusted and wants to completely abandon his fraternity, and he seeks an exit, and he goes to Brahma. See, Brahma says that, you cannot escape from your responsibilities. If you belong to a situation, then you have to perform your swadharma. If you want to escape that, there is a way, but that's an exceptional way. What you have to do is, you have to help devatas in lifting the earth, lifting up the earth. The earth is not in balance. So can you do that? So this is a metaphor for, if you want to move away from your situation, then there is an exceptional act of contribution that you have to make to move out. Otherwise, your karmic debt remains as it is. Adishesha has not fulfilled his karmic debt. So he has to fulfill it by stepping out in an exemplary way. You cannot just like that exit. So what does Adishesha do? Adishesha performs tapas, goes down the earth, and then, as Brahma says, lifts up the earth. It's a lonely life for him there. He has to live there. So in his exit, Adishesha sends a tough message to the Nagas and also Vasuki that something extraordinary has to happen. So one of your exemplary man has gone away. You have lost him. Of course, through his act, Adishesha brings balance to earth. He also brings seriousness to the Nagas. So he's been a leader. He is not an escapist because he's solved an exceptional problem. And he's also transformed his ecosystem partially by bringing that seriousness that they have to do something which they were not willing to listen to. So what does Vasuki do? This is somewhat, a more relevant, not just more relevant. This is the path that most of us will take. Most leaders in our times will be this, and very few leaders will be like Adishesha. What does Vasuki do? Vasuki then, performs tapas, goes to Brahma. Brahma says, don't worry, in future, somebody will come and save you. You have to patiently wait. So Vasuki asks, who is that? In your own, lineage, your sister's son will come and do that. And she has to marry another person by name. His sister's name is also Jaratkaru. And her husband's name will also be Jaratkaru. And you have to wait. And then you have to bring up that son quietly for many years. And then he will save. So basically what is happening here is Brahma is saying that you have to invest in the future and perform tapas and build that ability to resolve this crisis. So either you go out like Adishesha and solve an exceptional problem outside to escape your karmic debt, or you be within, patiently wait, invest in the future, perform tapas, and transform your ecosystem. Vasuki chooses that, prepares his sister. Then when sage Jaratkaru comes, he goes and brings him and gets him married to Jaratkaru, his sister. They have a son, Astika, and then Jaratkaru husband leaves. Astika is brought up by Vasuki. Astika does not know that he will have to solve this problem. Finally, when Janamejaya performs Sarpayajna, at that time Vasuki requests Astika to go and save, and he explains the destiny for which he is born. Astika goes, and then we all know Astika how he stops the Sarpas from being sacrificed by King Janamejaya. So here Vasuki is a quiet leader. Adishesha is an exceptional performer known to everybody, but Vasuki's exemplary leadership is not known. These are the kind of leaders who we actually find on the ground. Unsung leaders who quietly transform their ecosystem, quietly build skills in their ecosystem, quietly invests in competence and future. And something extraordinary happens later. So everybody gives credit to Astika. Nobody gives credit to Vasuki. But it's Vasuki who truly anchors this transition and transformation of the Naga ecosystem and brings a balance to the whole thing. Vasuki also is the rope for Samudra Manthana in the of the Devasura. So there is a metaphor consistency also here. Vasuki is, in the whole Samudra Manthana, nobody praises Vasuki. Everybody else gets attention. But quietly, it's Vasuki who is doing everything. So this is the way leadership has been embedded into characters in Itihasa Purana. In this, you can see that everybody is performing a unique leadership role according to their Swadharma. This is not a universal leadership model. There are multimodal leadership is happening over here. That is according to us. Yet, I can say that this is not just ad hoc set of examples. There is something interesting happening over here in terms of the theory, and we'll look a little bit into the theory. The objective is not to go deep into theory. I will now it's 6:35. I would like to finish the presentation at 6:45 to 6:50, and then at least take a couple of questions, and we'll see what kind of theory is possible to be explored. So in leadership in Bharat, what kind of leadership? So leadership in Bharat means the following. One is you must be exemplary in striving for Purushartha, not just of yours, but of everybody else, balancing the well-being of all beings. You have to build and ensure security of the society. You should have the ability to build sacred experiences. That is leadership. Just Arthakama is not leadership. At the same time, you should have the ability to resolve the tension between Arthakama and Dharma. So there is a tension between the two. And that tension has to be every day resolved. And leader is that person who is able to resolve this tension every day, day after day, day after day, without being tired. Striving for Lokasangraha, that is keeping things together, always, being thoughtful of Kalyana of everybody, So the whole world being not falling apart, not being broken. That is what is the leadership paradigm, which means there is a constant exploration of ethics, and there is always change, but that change should be in a sustainable path. Knowing what is the sustainable path of change is part of leadership in Bharat. Of course, there is individual excellence. Individual excellence is not just in material skill, but also in austerity, being restrained, having that sense of sacrifices, being service-minded, prioritizing larger good over the self, protecting the weak, dushta shikshana, shishta rakshana, being brave, magnanimous, and generous. Such individual excellence. This is leadership in Bharat. In summary, excelling in Swadharma, Arjuna was a great archer. At the same time, Arjuna was one of the most sensitive human being and embodying the pursuit of Dharma. So that is what it is. So sustenance in one's functional context, that is Swadharma, and overall sustaining Dharma. So this is the overall leadership paradigm of Bharat. So let's see how this reflects in Rama's leadership. So we all know that in Valmiki Ramayana, Valmiki asks, the first shloka itself is, Valmiki asks, second shloka, he asks, Kenasmin samprate loke, gunavanyascha viryavan, dharmajnascha kritajnascha. Shri Rama, Valmiki asks, who is dharmajna, who is also kritajna? He explains 16 traits, and who fits all this? Who is that, man? Basically leadership trait. So in English, it translates itself as this: who is endowed with excellent qualities, who is full of prowess, who is knower of righteousness, that is dharmajna, filled with gratitude. So you see, he makes gratitude an important attribute of a leader. This is a very distinct feature in Bharatiya civilization. If a man is not capable of being correctly having that gratitude, then such a man cannot be dharmajna. Such a man cannot be a leader. So then it goes on like that. Somebody who is conquered anger, somebody who is free from envy. At the same time, people fear to fight him. Even devatas should fear to fight him. So he has to be brave. Benefactor of all beings. So whatever I explained in the previous slide is explained differently in these 16 characteristics that Valmiki asks Narada, who fits all this, and then we know Narada says Shri fits all this. Interesting thing here is there is an emphasis on gratitude. There is an emphasis on being perceived as not just being a benefactor of all, being perceived as benefactor of all. that is what brings trusts in the state, society, and teams, and so on. And he has to be skilled, not just skilled. Everybody should see him as being skilled in something. So leadership is not about just being a leader without having a particular skill. You have to be able to perform something exceptionally well. And it can't be just leadership. It has to be something exceptionally well. So skill is emphasized. There is a strong emphasis. And of course, you have to be self-restrained. Throughout, you will see self-restraint is important. So this is the shlokas that, Konasmin sampratam loke, gunavan kascha viryavan, dharmagnashcha kritagnyashcha, satyavakyo dridha vrataha. So, somebody who is firm in his resolve. So what does Bhagavad Gita say? 18 chapters actually have certain leadership emphasis in each of them. In Sankhya Yoga, it is the ability to frame and reframe reality. And, in the, like that in every chapter, there is something. Vishwarupa Darshana is about having the integral vision. So there's a nice book on this, which I've quoted at the end of this presentation. So that, it's by Professor Debashish Chatterjee, Timeless Leadership, 18 Leadership Sutras from Bhagavad Gita. It's available on Amazon. It's a good book. Read is a professor in IIM. Professor Mahadevan says that, in Bhagavad Gita, this gets summarized into 4 important leadership abilities. Lead by example, equanimity, that is samatva. Lead by example is, being on the ground. 3, knowing the principle of mutual dependence. Lot of things in Bhagavad Gita is to understand what is dependent on what comes from what leads to what. Fundamentally, it emphasizes that there is a lot of mutual dependence between various aspects of life. A leader has to have a good appreciation, because only then dharma can be resolved. And of course, you have to be an inspiring leader. That is, your presence should inspire others. So these 4 traits are the summary of leadership from Bhagavad Gita, according to Professor B. Mahadevan. Buddhist texts also talk about very interesting leadership traits. The Theravada Buddhism says generosity, morality, renunciation. You will see all of this reflected by Valmiki in a slightly different manner. Jataka tales explain it in a little more detail, but it is still the same. Being liberal, having a high moral character, gentleness, and exercising non-violence. There is a lot of self-mastery that Buddhist texts and Jain texts emphasize on. So there is one more 8-fold path of Buddhism for an effective and credible leadership. There's a link in that. So this 8-fold path is a famous thing in Buddhism. So right view. See, there are 8 things here. Right concentration, right mindfulness, right effort, right livelihood, right action, right speech, right intention. 7. But the first one is interesting. Right view. So that's where the struggle is. Having the right view. What is right view? So the whole Buddhism is about developing what is the right view. So there is a lot of emphasis on working hard to get the view correct. So Buddhist paradigm is a paradigm of being a master of your own self. So internal victory. In the Jain universe also, it's interesting. Actually, they did something extraordinary. They in the 20th century, the Jain leadership compiled a text called Samana Sutta, which brought leadership perspectives from all of their texts and summarized them into a single thing. And they have dana is a leadership trait in that. It is important. Atonement, that is prayashchitta, and confession is also a leadership trait, which is again self-mastery, but truthfulness. This is a Vidura way of living. There's a parallel to Vidura. So you will see a summary of Itihasa Purana views in these characteristics. Jains also anchored a lot on intellectual leadership, having perspectives that are many-sidedness, knowing what are the different kinds of standpoints being able to approximate situations through conditional judgments. These are all leadership traits for them. So standpoints itself, they developed 7 different kinds of standpoints. And these were all expected to be, a king had to be good in all of this. So because judgment and justice came from knowing, this kind of multiple views. Anekantavada is a very strong emphasis in the Jains. So we will stop here. You will see that whatever I have elaborated as leadership description and traits in this section, it so reflects well with what is leadership, the 10 leadership examples I showed from the Itihasa Purana. So it's not something that you have to struggle to extrapolate. If you read the leadership part of the text, you will clearly see what kind of leaders our tradition wanted, and you will see that reflection in the Itihasa Purana. With this, I think it's 6:45. It's correctly stopped. I would like to stop here and see if there are any questions.
So thank you very much for this session on an exceptional way of putting across the exceptional leaders, the various traits, what they carry, and even the examples which were very connected, and a few examples which you could connect later on. But nevertheless, every time we listen about leadership, a different perspective, what we get, a different understanding what we really have. Thank you so much for such a wonderful session, sir. Now the participants can ask questions to the resource person if you have any. So there is one participant who wanted to go through the slide of Naga Adi Shesha leadership role again. So if you could share the slide to them, sir. Shivakumar, sir. Shivakumar, sir. I think we have a slight connectivity issue with sir. Shivakumar, sir.
There was a little connectivity issue.
Yes. So there's
back.
one participant who wanted you to present the slide of Naga Adi Shesha, the leadership role again. Is it possible, sir? Yes. Participants, if you have any questions, you can post to the chat box. So there are no questions from the participants. That tells us about how clear and how precise the presentation was. And thank you so much for such a wonderful session, sir. On behalf of CES and on behalf of ICFI, I extend a hearty thanks to you for this wonderful session, what we had. Thank you so much, sir.
I'll just end with this last slide since I have a
yes, sir.
All these leadership forms can be summarized into 4 forms. The ideal dharmic leader, the self-master, the strategic institution builder / statesman, and a visionary community leader, nation builder. So the way the ideal dharmic leader is obviously Rama. And, Dharmaraj, Yudhishthira, they all belong to that. The self-master is, Vidura and all the Jain, Bauddha kind of leadership. The strategic institution builder statesman is Krishna, Chanakya, Prithu, not Prithu, but, several others, you will see that. Whereas the visionary community nation builders are like Prithu and Bharata, and in our times, Maharaja Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and so on. So you will see these four kind of archetypes, and you will see kings having a mix of all of this in not just kings, but in all kinds of leaders. You will see a mix with having a mix of all of this. So I just
Sir,
thought.
there are a few questions. Can we take that,
Yeah.
sir? Yeah. There's one question from Mr. Dinesh who wants you to tell about the Krishna's leadership style.
So in Krishna, right?
Yes, sir, Krishna.
So in Krishna's case, what he does is that he is a careful observer, and he kind of remains a passive observer, but he's not a passive observer, he's an active observer, and who will not step in until a problem arises. So crisis resolution is his expertise, and he takes individuals from one point to another point which they would have by themselves not been able to go. Arjuna would not have been able to cross that Vishada all by himself. Draupadi would have not been able to, Pandavas would not have been able to help save Draupadi in the Sabha. So like that, Sudama's transition was planned by Shri Krishna. So like that, he waits and waits, and when the right time comes, he knows exactly what is the right action to be done. That will completely change the system. So this is a crisis resolution, transformative leadership. This is not a plan. There is no plan. Shri Krishna does not plan it. Unlike Dharmaraja, who will every step, he keeps on taking. Shri Krishna lets things be. So there are leaders who will just let things be and just do what is required at the brink. That requires a lot of confidence, that requires a lot of ability, that requires the ability to judge situations very, very well. Most leaders will be defensive and start executing carefully from the beginning. That's not how Shri Krishna does. So crisis resolvers, transformative leaders are all like this. They're enigmas. You won't understand them easily, but they will be understanding you all the time. Correct. So a good psychology knowledge and ability to judge everybody and situations is extremely important for this. It's not for everybody.
There is one more question, sir. How much of these cases are covered in the curriculum in IIMs?
Well, I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. We are yet to,
Yes.
I think it has started. I would say, looking into our texts as knowledge has started. Professor Mahadevan, I quoted Professor Mahadevan's paper, right? So he's a professor from IIM Bangalore. Professor Ramesh Ji, they have all started this journey a decade back. And slowly it is happening. Bhagavad Gita is the most registered course in IIM Bangalore. One of the most registered courses in IIM Bangalore. So definitely Professor Mahadevan's paper on Bhagavad Gita and leadership in Bhagavad Gita would have made an impact. So it has started. The journey has started. But yes, a time will come when we are able to build theories from this. And theory making is extremely important for entire courses to be anchored on that. So that there is work that we have to do.
Yes. We have no more questions. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful session. I now request all the participants to kindly stay tuned for the next 5 minutes, as we'll also be concluding remarks and acknowledgement to formally close this edition of the series. I now request G.P. Sudhakar, sir, Honorary Professor, Bharateeya Management SES, to give his concluding remarks on this e-lecture of Bharateeya Management Navaratri series. Over to G.P. Sudhakar, sir.
Yeah, namaste everyone. Bhagya, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Okay, thanks. So, namaste everybody. It's truly a pleasure to be with you today as we conclude this wonderful Bharatiya Management Navaratri e-lecture series. We have been doing this for a couple of years now. Over the past 5 days, we have had the privilege of listening to 10 insightful speakers, each of whom illuminated a different facet of Bharatiya wisdom and its relevance to modern management. They have guided us on a journey of wisdom and transformation, blending ancient insights with contemporary ideas. Navaratri, as we know, symbolizes the triumph of knowledge, resilience, and virtue over ignorance and adversity. This lecture series has been our own modern day Navaratri. From the time CESS, began its journey in the area of Bharatiya management, the vision has always been to work towards mainstreaming Bharatiya management. Our vision is not some jingoistic thought. I am sure you are all convinced after listening to these talks that Bharatiya management has something really useful to offer to this body of knowledge called management. This lecture series is more than just a collection of talks. It's a step towards our much larger vision to integrate Bharatiya management into the curriculum of every business school in India. To respond to the earlier question whether it is there in the IIMs, I'm happy to share that most IIMs and also the IITs that have management departments are already offering courses in this area. Our collaboration with ICFI Foundation for Higher Education is key part of this effort, and we are very grateful for their support. We believe that these timeless principles rooted in our rich traditions offer a holistic and a humane approach to business that is not only effective but also deeply meaningful. It's extremely relevant in today's world of business where we see lots of issues connected with ethics, leadership, and you see issues like that. Thank you to all our distinguished speakers, the wonderful CES team, and our collaborators for making the series a reality. Most importantly, thank you to each one of you who attended these sessions. Your presence and engagement have shown that this vision is not a distant dream, but a shared reality we can all build together. We need to build together. The journey doesn't end here. Please, let's continue to be catalysts for change, bridging the gap between our rich heritage and our future, and making Bharatiya management a cornerstone for education across India. Thank you, each one of you, once again. Have a wonderful Dasara. Namaste.